Okay, so this one's going to be a little weird, but you're along for the ride for the weirdness, so let's take a look at it. As many of you know, there is an eclipse. The eclipse of 2017 is coming, and it's all over the news. And it's all you hear about. Could eclipse do this? Could eclipse do that? Could eclipse? And so I had a theory this morning that I want to visit with you, and that involves looking at this pattern right here. Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the description down below to this video. Was our last solar cycle update video, and there's something very important about this that I want to drill into your consciousness while we're here. Can everybody see? Well, of course you can. You're looking at my chart. I want you to notice there's a high, and then it pulled down, and then a double bottom right here. Okay, so there's a high, there's a low, and then a lower low. All right? And so my solar cycle analysis seemed to imply that this was going to rise back up towards the high. And again, you can go through that analysis here, and I go into an explanation as to why. Mostly because of this pattern 4. And you can look again at that video, and I'll put a link to the guidebook to show you how these time patterns are pretty effective in terms of interpreting what should happen at a certain time based on its location in regards to price. But what I really want you to focus on is this pattern, right? We kind of have the big move, then we have this move down, then we have this move, kind of like a zigzag with a stop run. Okay, we'll draw it one more time. And you're saying, well, why is that important, Lydic? With an expectation of that. Why is that important? Well, for two reasons. Number one, and I'll put a link in the description, I found a web page that has the dates of all of the eclipses all the way back, both annular and partial and hybrid, and which parts of the world were affected by it, how long they were, and I wanted to see where do the eclipses take place on an S&P price chart. And then I found this one in particular. This one is the list of solar eclipses that are visible from the United States. Okay? And what was particularly interesting to me were these two, 1994 and May of 2012. Now, stay with me because it gets weird. May of 2012 was the last eclipse visible from the United States. And so I opened up a NinjaTrader chart. And I went back and I found May of 2012. Now, I hope this freaks you out a little bit, because it's starting to freak me out, and you'll see why here in a moment. And maybe I shouldn't be freaked out. I've found something very interesting. Remember that pattern that we were looking at a little bit before, where we had a high and then a low and then a lower low? Okay, remember the picture that we just drew. A high, a low, and then a stop run. Lower low right there. Well, when I look at this chart, I'm starting to notice there was a high, and then the market moved into a low, and there was a lower low. And then everything moved back up into that high, back here in 2012. And then off to the right, you can sort of see things escape the gravity of that high. But if you look at the pattern in terms of where we are in relation to the eclipse, one could interpret this low as the primary low. Basically, a pattern that looks like this. A zigzag, down, up, down, and then back up. So basically the eclipse sort of marks the bottom of the area before it comes back up. Now, the other place that we saw that was in 1994. And that would be May 10th of 1994. Now, I have a chart here from 1994. And I can't really blow it up. I don't have a tool for it. Well, maybe I can. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to increase the image to about twice the height. We'll make it 800. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I want to look for May 12th. And here's what I want you to see. Ready? I'll try to blow it up here so it's really evident. Here's where May starts. Now, this was back in 1994, last visible eclipse from the United States. And I want you to see if you see the same things that I've been seeing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and shoot it over there. Now, here we go. Ready? High, bottom, stop run, expected rise back up into the high. And I'll do it again. Ready? Here's what we started out with. That's what we were looking for, right? And that was based off of that YouTube video that we talked about a minute ago. And now I'm seeing that same pattern back here in 1994. There was a high, then it pulled back. So here's May 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right around this area, the low gets put in at this solar eclipse, right? The low gets put in at this solar eclipse, and then it revisits the high. So again, this was in 1994, and the solar eclipse was somewhere in this area right here. And the pattern involved a high. It was a higher high than the one before it, right? Lower low, higher high. It pulled back down. There was the primary low, right? Then there was a stop run, and then the market moved back up into the highs and into a higher high. Now, keep that fresh in your mind. And when you go back and look at the May 20th, 2012 pattern, I want you to compare the two things. Again, maybe there's something here, maybe not. But I want to spark a thought process if I can. Take a look right here. And then take a look right here. The only thing similar between the two was where the solar eclipse took place. And in each of those instances, I'll draw my green arrow here. We'll make it super fat. I'm not the best pattern recognizer, if that's even a word, but I'm seeing a similarity here in regards to over here. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll double click this. And we'll make that highlighted as well. We'll put the price candles up on top of it. So you with me so far? If it's helpful, I'll take the candles and we'll make them all black so that they stick out. Okay, so again, see if you see what I see. Primary high up here, the low down here. This date over here was the eclipse in 2012, right there. And on this chart, the eclipse was somewhere over here. And we'll change the color of that to black. We'll change the color of this to black. I don't know, maybe nothing there, right? Maybe nothing there at all. So I said, let's look a little deeper. And again, I want you to keep in mind the primary elements of the pattern that we're looking for. A high, that's element number one, and then an eclipse around a pullback with a stop run. Okay, same elements over here. We'll just do it again one last time. A high with a lower low that breaks through a consolidation area, and then a stop run. Okay, so now I started to go back and look for examples of all of the other eclipses. And so in the 21st century, going all the way back from the early 2000s into the current one, I went back and started looking for other signals. Okay, this was the one in 2012, and I put an orange line, a yellow line, where most of those took place. And now I want you to keep in mind that we're going to look at a bunch of these. So here's the first pattern. Doesn't really match what set up before, right? But to the left of it, over here in April, does that look familiar? Again, take a look. High, primary pullback, secondary low, revisiting. That's near a solar eclipse. Okay, well, maybe that's nothing. Maybe it's something. I don't know. Now look over here. Ready? This is another one. This is 11/1/2013 from the Wikipedia page that I gave you. And now compare it to our example. What do you see? You see a high, a low, and then a secondary low before it does what? Comes back up. Kind of looks like this one, except the eclipse is on the primary low, right? One could make an argument that we're right here in the cycle, but either way, the bottom is kind of where? Let's take a look. Right around the same point. We'll go ahead and make this yellow like our other example. And again, I'm just throwing ideas at you. Maybe this is something, maybe it's nothing, but so far we found two examples of this pattern near an eclipse. Okay, so let's keep going. Pulling over to the right. This one, hardest to match. You could make an argument for just over here. High consolidation, pulls down into a low, retest of the low, back up into the high, and then higher highs after that. Not a perfect match, but it's near this pullback with a stop run near the solar eclipse. Okay, just keep that pattern in your mind. Now look at this one. We had another one, March 27th, 2015. Now remember what we're looking for, right? Where have we seen this before? Primary high, pullback, double bottom with a stop run attempt, and then up to the high and higher highs. So I didn't think at this point that I was crazy. I didn't think I was crazy. Immediately after the solar eclipse, it went up, visited the highs again, and punched through. So we've seen this pattern now, what, 3 or 4 times, and I found another one. This one was September 14th of 2015, and again, I'm getting all the data from this chart. All of the partial annular and hybrid eclipses in the 20th century. And so when I come back and look here, let's see if we can spot that same pattern near an eclipse and see what tends to happen. Ready? What are we looking for? A high, a double bottom with a stop run, and then a re-attack of that high. Do you see any of those over here to the left? It's kind of rife with them, aren't they? Well, there's a primary one right here with a double bottom, and then what? A re-attack of the high. You could make an argument, let's draw them out here, ready? You can make an argument with this being the eclipse, primary high, and then a re-attack of the high. There's one version of it, but it's fractal now too. Look, high, bottom, another bottom, re-attack of that high. This W pattern, right? The W pattern with a higher high on the return. Okay, so now that's the 5th or 6th time that we've seen those. I've lost track. Now check out the mini one right here. These are all eclipse dates from that chart that we just spoke about, from that Wikipedia page. We're looking for a primary high, a low, a stab of the low, a stop run, and then a return to the high near a solar eclipse date. Here's the primary high right here, March 4th, 2016. Here's the solar eclipse. Now look, big drop down. This candle right here is the biggest drop since, or the biggest candle since this push up right here. So it closes 1, 2, 3 candles worth of moves in one day. Like somebody knew it was coming, right? It almost looks like somebody knew it was coming. Primary high, low, secondary low, attack of the high and a higher high. Now that's what, 6 or 7 of those that we've seen so far on an eclipse day. Here's another yellow line. Hey, it's almost like a song that the pattern repeats. The lyrics keep repeating. Let's put this, in fact, side by side to what we're looking at here. And anybody see the same pattern? Primary high, all-time high, just like what we've been looking at. Low, lower low, re-attack of the high. Ready? Primary high, pull back down, pull back up, pull back down, stop run, back up to the high. Solar eclipse date is right here. That's 6 or 7 times so far. And all I'm doing is following the solar eclipse dates of the past. This one here, smaller to see, similar concept. I'm gonna, again, a lot of these patterns are not exact copies, but they're rhymes of each other. Ready? There's a high, there's a low right here, and there's the lower low. Let's move this over. Okay, it's a little bit of a stretch, but stay with me. I'm just looking for similarities, right? High, drop, lower drop, re-attack of the high, new high. This eclipse date is 1 bar off in relation to this eclipse date. Fascinating, right? Okay, and you can look and look and look and go all the way back. I'm going all the way back here. This is 2010. And I've been looking for these patterns all afternoon. Now, this one is a mini version, but it drops. I'm going to go ahead and change the colors of the candles one time here real quick, and I want you to see there's a variation with this one where it completely falls apart. Okay. This is the eclipse date, but I want you to notice what happens right after. High, here's the highest high, the pullback into the low, a lower low, and then up we go. Okay? So put it next to this one, stretched out. Look where the solar eclipse date takes place. All-time high, low, lower low, solar eclipse, straight up. Okay? So the behavior is consistent, from what I can tell, as we go back in time. Now this one, this is one of those Rocket Man, no way it's gonna no way it's going to stop. But again, the behavior pattern here after the eclipse, what has the resounding theme been after the date of the eclipse? What has the behavior of the market been going back all these days, right? So some of these are real clear, some of these are not so clear. Now, here's an example of one. Tell me if this doesn't match what we've been looking for, right? We'll scrunch it up here. Here's a high, primary high, right? Then you have the double bottom pattern here, the low and the lower low, the eclipse date. And can you see what happens after the eclipse date here? Rises back up. In this case, the ES went from 610 to 670, so a $60 move up before it eventually collapsed. Okay, so that was back in 2010. Identical construction, identical behavior pattern after the eclipse. We'll continue back in time. And here's another example. Okay, you can make an argument for the high up top being there, but still I want you to see what happens after the eclipse. So you could say that the high is somewhere over here, then you have the low, then you have the eclipse, and then that W pattern, right? How many of these can we do before you start to go, oh, this is really kind of weird, breaking the high to the left of the eclipse? And in this case, it fell apart and went down. Now we'll go back again. See the same pattern, everybody? It's kind of cool, right? This is another eclipse back in February 7th, 2008. All right, and this is way back when we were in crash land, right? Way back in bubble land. So just look at the pattern with me here. Ready? High. We'll fill them in so they're not so, what do you call it? Not so blah, blah, blah. High, primary low, secondary low near the eclipse, reattack of the intermediate high. Okay, we go back again. See the same pattern here, guys? This is the eclipse back in 2007. High, low, reattachment of, or reapproaching of the low. It didn't stop run here. But then do you see here how it attacked the high right after? Same W pattern. Boom, 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 boom. So we're back in 2007. This is 10, 11 years ago, right? And this is the one from 2007. Now, I don't even have to, but I'm going to draw here because at one point you start to feel silly for not having looked. Low, lower low, eclipse date, reattack of the intermediate high, and here the obvious high gets reattacked and pushed through. Okay, so remember, what are we looking at these patterns in relation to what's happening right now, right? Because that's what we want to address. And so here on the Emini S&P, if you use the chart that I've been working up for you, I want you to compare it to what's been going on.
Where people are going to get chopped to death.
Straight out of that video. Okay, so in this video here,
this next signal coming up,
I'll shut myself up because I don't need to hear myself twice. Can you see the high where the blue circle is? Right? The low, lower low, and then the eclipse. There's the high, low, lower low coming into the eclipse, right? So based on that, compare it to what's been happening for the last 10 years at these eclipse dates, and you'll notice the same elements exist in almost every one. Low, lower low at the eclipse date in 2006, reattack of the high. In this case, the high wasn't up here when it pulled back. the high was a lower high at that point. But the behavior pattern still took place. A plunge and then a second plunge. The banks ran the stops on people's panics and fears and then drove it up again, over and over and over and over again. See it here? High. This is back in 2006 again. All-time higher high, low, and there's the stab. Where does it go after the eclipse? Right back up to attack the prior high. In this case, 1190 to 1210. A whopping 20-point move back when the ES barely moved, right? So this one here is offset, but I want you to see the same pattern because that's what we're seeing in the ES right now, a high, these chaotic drops down, the stop run candle right here, and if this yellow line was there, it would be identical to what the S&P is doing right now, but it's not. This one actually dropped on the top of a pullback. So it's a stretch, but the pattern appeared again just to the left. That same pattern that we've been tracking since 1994, just to the left of the solar eclipse date. Do you see the same pattern here just to the left? This one is almost a direct repeat of this one. Okay, check it out. If you had a cause for pause, here it is. Ready? I'm going to draw a box. High. There's the eclipse date right here. Just to show you that the banks do these things on purpose. They know when something's coming and they manipulate people's emotions. High, low, stop run, pull back to the solar eclipse, and drop. This is the pattern that we're in right here in relation to time. Here's where we are right now in our modern day S&P. But look at the prior. As a matter of fact, let's just copy this. We'll take a look at this right here. I'm going to hold it and put it over there. And let me go back to the one before it. Does this look familiar at all? Ready? Rectangle at the high. Where's the solar eclipse in 2005? It's right here. Okay. Where were the highs and lows? This was just previous to the first solar eclipse. Here, here, stop run, up to the high, and then the drop. Again, modern day present S&P pattern. We're over here right now, and we're going to go back to re-challenge the high. So in almost every instance that I could find, going back to and including the March 21st pattern, the last one that was visible in the US, I've been seeing the same kinds of things over and over and over again. And I would encourage you to do your own research. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong. There's a very good chance. But usually when I see something, it ends up being something. And I don't know if it's of worth or value to you, or if you have options positions on, or things that you want to take a look at. The appearance is, just studying it, there appears to be a correlation where this price action here was put in place by the banks to cause people panic, to start to sell out before the eclipse comes in with all those self-fulfilling prophecies, just before they run it up. And people have been selling them the lowest pullback prices they can before a retracement to the other side. Thank you for hearing me out. I don't know if this will be of value to you or not. Keep an eye on it. Again, I'll put those links in the video description below. You want to go back and watch the other solar cycle video. I found it interesting how those two worlds collided and what my analysis of a solar cycle provided related to the move next coming, and then these eclipses relative to what may be coming next. Please like, subscribe, comment, share it with everybody you know. It would be really cool to see if we came back up into the high here and blew through it, or re-challenged that high like we were seeing in those previous eclipse patterns. Take care, everyone. Thanks again.